If we can turn back the clock of time, if we can rotate it back almost 20 years ago.
A real Donnybrook, that's going to be. Nicely executed and down to the canvas. Here comes, all hell's going to break loose now. Anything goes here.
Welcome to the 4th edition of the Atomic Dropcast, your weekly knee to the ass bone for your ear holes. I'm Brian alongside Mikey.
Hey everybody. Thanks for joining us. What we're doing here is we're taking a look back at wrestling from our childhood from a new perspective as adults. We're recapping the action. We're giving you guys another look at the angles and the wrestling from yesteryear.
This week, it's Royal Rumble Raw, a.k.a. Monday Night Raw, episode 196, taped January 31st and airing on February 3rd of 1997.
This week, Raw comes from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We're at the Sky Dome with what they're calling an attendance of 25,628.
Which is pretty good, but clearly a little bit down from the actual Royal Rumble.
Oh, it's down from Royal Rumble, but it is way up from Raw last week in Beaumont, Texas. But this is the first 2-hour Raw, and let's get right into it. First, we have Vader coming out to the ring, and pretty quick we switch over to the Royal Rumble footage. Now, remember, last week at the end of Raw, they announced that this show would be Royal Rumble Raw. And they said, you're going to see the match. Well, we found out throughout this show that we don't get to see the match, do we, buddy?
Not at all. And they're so ambiguous with that. We wondered even, was it going to be the whole match replayed, or is it going to be another Royal Rumble, just that type of match? And it is neither.
Neither. They're just going to show clips whenever that associated wrestler is on the screen.
Pretty much, and give away the whole finish. I guess the pay-per-view contracts at that time period were different than they are now, because they just give you the last, 10 minutes or so, just basically just setting up the final four.
Yeah, that's what they're giving us right here in the beginning. We go right from Vader's entrance right into the finish for the Royal Rumble. We see the final 5 guys in there. They're showing us why we're having the final 4 match, and then we announce they show up throughout the show more clips of the match when then the feuds come up.
I think we cut straight to from Brett pitching a fit in the ring, shoving refs and all that good stuff. We cut straight to how's Vince put it, dressed for combat backstage in Canada.
Brett's pacing back and forth. He's got his ring gear on, and he's got his famous leather jacket with the tassels on top. From there, we cut to the show open, the opening video, the montage, what we're used to seeing, and then they announced that they were going right into a singles match. Obviously, we saw Vader coming in earlier. He's got Paul Bearer there out at ringside. And then out comes the rattlesnake himself, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, and right in that same area, because I'm going to keep bringing it up, that's the first time Vince lets us know very emphatically that there will be no bait and switch here.
No bait and switch, no Robin Hood. There's no bullshit you got to sit through to see our matches, homie.
A little bit of Femme Nikita, but
well, and then they push La Femme Nikita down your throat. I'd love to see her on Raw. Blah blah blah. Yeah. They announced that Brett is here in his hometown crowd of 25,000 fans. Did you catch that there early on?
No, I didn't, but it's Canada, just a guest, but like that vibe was already kind of there, but I didn't catch that piece.
Yeah, obviously Brett is not from Toronto. The Hart family is not from Toronto. They're from a different part of Canada.
But to Vince, Canada's just all one big state.
That's it. Yeah. It's all one big cash cow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Steal some talent from there and then go around the towns.
We see Austin coming out and the crowd's popping big for him. The crowd looks a little sparse here in the beginning when they're announcing this humongous crowd, but it fills out throughout the show. And then it does look quite impressive towards the end. But something else we noticed early on is the production is a little off. Now, I think that's a product of having the Raw setup for a enormous arena like the Sky Dome.
Yeah, the lighting's very different throughout the whole show and in different areas. But I honestly, kind of like we mentioned with some of even the Beaumont Raws, there's less lighting on those shows than there is 5 years from now, and especially compared to like today's product. And sometimes I think it helps. I think it works and it feels right. But yeah, here coming from the past 2 Beaumonts, very much smaller arena. I think those attendances were like 2,000 plus. You go to a huge arena like this, and we're not bringing the pay-per-view gear. It's kind of what you get.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Pretty good match here. We see that the team up first is Vince and JR. No King, no Doc Hendricks, but we hear from both of them later on. Right here in the beginning of Austin's entrance, Austin gets in the ring and he starts getting mouthy with Vader. And right from the behind, Bret Hart comes down the ramp, jumps in, and just jumps Austin. They start brawling right off the rip.
No music, no fancy light show, nothing. Just an attack. It looks good. It feels good. I didn't even notice the crowd reacting until it was too late.
Well, yeah, I think that was the point, is the crowd doesn't react until he's in the ring. And then it's a brawl between Austin and Bret, and then it gets broken up, and then here comes Vader jumping on Bret. It's a good dynamic. It's a good promotion for the pay-per-view coming up.
100%.
Yep. So this is all before the match, so we're not worried about disqualification or anything at this point. But disqualification does come into play towards the end. Austin keeps getting in the face of the referee as they argue back and forth. Austin's using the finger a little bit in the match, and we'll go over that here shortly. But Austin turns around and stuns the ref at one point after a 5 count.
Which
just drops him.
Which makes for a total of what I'll call 2.5 ref bumps in this match.
2.5. There you go. Yeah. And so after Austin stuns him, Vader gets back up. The two go to the outside, and they start brawling. They call the match, but we see the stairs get used for the first time right off the rip after the match.
Stairway to heaven.
Austin is DQ'd, and they never announce why, but you can assume it's from the stunner.
100%. Yeah, and we're right there in that same, and during this match toward the end, I think after ref bump 1.5, we get our second bait and switch comment from old Vince that they promised some title matches. We're getting title matches.
You see, it's funny. They always play up that WCW gave away their results on the beginning of Nitro. They never tell you that they were always dropping shade on them at the beginning of Raw.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on the last episode with the Robin Hood thing. I was interested to see it hear it when JR did it, and then the following week when Vince does it, I was like, holy shit, I don't remember. I mean, I don't remember the company doing it. I definitely don't remember Vince doing it. So yeah, it's becoming, there's a hardcore pattern here. You know?
Absolutely. And at this point, you have to remember WCW is up in the ratings. They're winning. They have the NWO going strong. We say it every episode.
It's 97, man. It's why this is such the perfect year to, because WWF is fighting from underneath.
Absolutely. So they're trying to come up with something new. They're trying to evolve, and that's what we get to watch. I'm excited. So what do you think of this match overall, Vader and Stone Cold?
I thought it was decent. I enjoyed it on the first watch, but the ref bumps were just weird, especially the one I'm calling a half, the very first one, where Vader feigns to go up to the top rope, presumably for the moonsault, and the ref gets out on the apron and is wagging the finger at him, like, well, why? Why are you getting that close to him? Just for a top rope move. And Vader just mushes him in the face. He doesn't actually bump, but he's flung off of the apron.
Yeah, he pushes him down from the apron, which referee climbs the outside. And he's pushed down to the mats. He quickly turns around and gets back up. But in that short time frame, they time it just right to where Austin can hit the low blow to get out of the hold and still make the ref bump count for something, the half bump.
Which, I mean, is that being that the ref went to the apron, he went to the outside of the ring, is that no longer a disqualification? Like how? It
should be. I think it's going to be a common theme here. I think we just need a sound effect. We just need to insert a sound effect where fake disqualification or something.
The other little things I noticed in here, we keep bringing us. There's a commercial middle of this match. There's 2 low blows, the one you just mentioned, and then later, right before Austin stuns the ref, he hits the trick leg, which JR drops a term I remember hearing a lot in this time period and have not for a long time. He calls it a galata.
Galata.
I think if I heard him correctly, the term sounded very familiar to me. I didn't bother to look it up.
It's what you get at the mall when you need a frozen treat. I believe that's the case.
It's kind of like ice cream, but a little more silky.
That's it. I'd take her for a froyo.
Frappes and shit.
That's it. I liked where there's a spot in this match. Vader tosses Austin into the corner. The ref is already in the corner. Ref takes a bump and falls down. We cut to commercial. Immediately when we come back from that commercial, the referee is already up in the ring. What purpose that referee bump served, I don't know, but it confused the hell out of me.
Well, I mean, we all know good wrestling psychology. You need a good ref bump to hit a rest hold.
That must be it. They had to kill time during the commercial. So overall, pretty good match. Obviously, they're just trying to push more of the final four. Austin and Vader are both heavy hitters, and I think that was evident throughout.
100%.
After this match, we cut right to a promo for Thursday Raw Thursday, which is the next episode of Raw.
And then this promo, the big high spot I have for that promo is it's the first sighting of hands down 100% your favorite of all time, the big brown and red machine, Ahmed Johnson.
Ahmed is not my favorite. We can stop the speculation, stop the press, let everybody know that is not the case.
Hashtag Mikey loves Ahmed.
Raw is Ahmed.
There you go.
From there, we cut to the next match. We see Savio Vega coming down to the ring with the Nation of Domination. And I have one strong feeling about this entrance. More D-Lo.
Well, I mean, I think this entrance of all nation entrances ever, I think it hits both of your two main markers, less PG-13, and it's got more D-Lo than prior.
That's it. For those of you who don't know, D-Lo Brown is my favorite wrestler of all time. I am down with the Brown. I am sky high all the time. D-Lo is the man.
What can Brown do for you?
What can Brown do for you? One of the most underappreciated, underrated, first inter-European champion of all time, D-Lo Brown.
Wait, hold on. Was that just Intercontinental and European at the same time?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
The WWE will later claim that Kurt Angle was the first, and that is very, very incorrect, as we will learn in 1998.
Well, and then by then we should be seeing, a plethora of chest protectors and head wagging.
Oh, we'll see the chest protector well before then. We'll see that this year. But I guess we have to go back to the competitors in the match. Savio Vega is going one-on-one with Flash Funk. And only in 1996, 1997, WWF could do this to Too Cold Scorpio. I love both these guys. They're both great workers. And this was a hell of a match. It was a lot of fun to watch. Here in the end, Flash Funk goes to climb the top rope to attack Savio. They say he's distracted by Nation members. He dives down onto D-Lo Brown, who then takes a big spin kick and goes to the ground. Flash gets back on the turnbuckle, goes for a moonsault, and misses. Savio rolls him up for the quick pin. 1, 2, 3. Match is over. Savio Vega is your winner. What do you think, buddy?
Man, I wanted to like it, but God, I did not at all. I thought the jump outside to the Nation was ridiculous. If you go back and watch that spot, D-Lo is not even looking at him. He just he happens to glance up right, quick enough and does a pretty good job of catching him. I think the extra padding of his hair helped. But overall, I saw really no Nation interference. Not like we're used to. We're used to PG-13 constantly, throwing hands under the bottom rope, trying to clip ankles and whatnot. And we really got none of that in this. But Flash Funk needed to jump to the outside, and I don't know if someone on their end forgot to do something and he was just following the spot, or if I don't know, he just wanted to do some shit. But that seemed like a worked part of the finish. So that part really confused me. Other than that, like one of the biggest things that bothered me, I always liked Savio. I think once he goes Nation, you should have changed his damn ring top. It looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
And two, there's one like sidewalk slam that he is really struggling to pick up Funk.
Yeah, and he kind of drops to his side. It's pretty ugly.
Yeah. Those are like my little gripes. But other than that, I mean, I thought the match was kind of boringish. Even with Too Cold doing what he does, everything just felt a little bit off in this one to me.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite with you. I liked it. I have respect for both guys, and Flash hit some big spots, and they still did the heel gimmick with the Nation. I thought it worked. Flash does the 180 splash off the top rope.
That was impressive.
Super awesome. I loved it. That's worth going back and watching for this match alone. He hits that spot, and he's just such a big guy. That's what he dresses like. He's lightweight, and they promote him like he's a high flyer, but he looks like he's 260 here.
Oh yeah, I mean he looks at the least maybe 20 pounds lighter than Savio, who's a big guy.
Yeah. I thought it was a fun match, and some fun spots from Flash Funk. We got to see what he could do. Of course, he does have the ugliest boots I've ever seen since the Iron Sheik of 1980s.
Speaking of boots, I just remember this. I have it written down. The only thing I can think to call it, I called it the spinning knee Hulk up.
Oh, I have a Hulk up note too.
that little deal on one foot and on like taking a knee, and then the spinning around. Like I was like, what is this? Something I don't know if this is a normal Scorpio spot from the time. I went and checked. I saw that he debuted as Funk in like November of '96, so he hadn't been around too long. But I can't remember ever seeing him do that before or after.
Yeah, I have down that I never liked people coming back up through punches. If someone's punching you in the face, you shouldn't be hulking up. But aside from that, yeah, he hits a little spin move and it's a little gimmicky, but I think it's maybe part of the transition from the cartoony era into what is going to be the Attitude Era.
It could be. I mean, it fits his attire.
Yeah. After that, we see Savio Vega heading back to the entranceway. And who's there to embrace him but Faarooq, leader of the Nation of Domination, who comes out with Crush despite not being at ringside throughout. What'd you think of that?
Strange. What were they so busy doing? I mean, if them not being there, I honestly assume we'd cut to backstage and something would be happening. But maybe the idea is they're hiding from Ahmed, but we haven't seen hide nor hair of him yet either. So yeah, it was strange to me. I get the whole, that's kind of like his acceptance into the deal, but it was weird.
Yeah, it feels to me like an acceptance, like a, hey, you just turned, you have to prove yourself. Welcome to the club, kid, kind of deal. But I didn't think of it from the aspect of Ahmed hiding from Ahmed, so that's a good angle to take too, and only show up briefly.
It's kind of like a Marvel no prize, like explain away a continuity error and you get your no prize.
Yeah, interestingly enough, they switched commentary teams here too. They had Doc Hendricks and Vince on here, and as JR was actually interviewing Savio before the match.
Yeah, and Hendricks wasn't terrible. We got a boogity in there.
Boogity, yes, we did. He's interesting. He always cracks me up.
The way he dresses is interesting. It's just sad we didn't see him.
I think he has a mullet at this time, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I guess one thing we haven't touched on before, they're not at ringside for this match. Vince says they're in a skybox, but I don't think we ever see the commentary team through this entire card.
No, I don't think we do either. Right after that, we go to a commercial, and we come back from commercial to another promo from Vince. No bait and switch on the title match.
Number 4.
Ooh.
Number 4. I missed 3. 3 was during the last match. This is number 4. No bait and switch.
No bait and switch, and instead, here comes Psycho Sid, who, by the way, they're going to bait and switch us on next week. Sid comes out. JR's in the ring for the interview, and at this point, you can really tell the seats are filling up. Everybody's sitting down, and when Sid comes out, the place looks like it's finally full.
This is the first time you get a good high overhead shot that it looks impressive.
I had a hard time following the Sid promo. He cuts a promo about the title, bringing out the evil in people, and which is a great way to go with a Sid promo, because obviously he's pretty crazy. But he said it brings out the evil in him. It brought up the evil in Sean, and maybe Sean can see the evil, and maybe he's going that direction now. I had a hard time following it. You kind of filled me in on that. He talks about roller coasters. He's talking about how evil it is, how it's the end of the world, and only Sid rules the world. I love his promos. I love Sid, but this was rough.
They're almost like they're like a slower version of a Ultimate Warrior promo sometimes.
That's a whispering Ultimate Warrior.
Yes. if you could merge Jake the Snake with Ultimate Warrior.
This felt like they were trying to kill some time now that they have 2 hours. But they're also trying to promote the world title match they have next week. It just went too long.
Yeah, it really did. Even from the outset, even JR's opening question takes him a solid minute to say the whole thing. Like it's a long leading question.
Yeah, it was, again, for me, it was rough. I was having a hard time following it, and I've been watching Sid for a long time. I'm used to it.
Yeah, when surprisingly, I really expected. I think you're right on the time filler, because I really expected someone to come out in this time period, but no one does. It's actually a cut and dry interview kind of, because it's one question and then one really long weird answer.
Yeah, if you can call it an interview, you're about right. From here, the most important question of maybe the decade is dropped. Brian, where have you gone, Yokozuna and Brian Pillman?
Oh yeah, we guess the hotline, right?
The hotline, Superstar Hotline, $1.49 a minute. Get your parents' permission. Doc Hendricks is on the line.
and as we saw, also, number no longer available.
Number is no longer in service, and neither are Yokozuna or Brian Pillman.
Man, can you imagine? I'm gonna have to look into that, because it's got to be out there somewhere. Someone has to have tapes of that shit.
Of the audio from the hotlines, that would be awesome.
Just as a little nostalgia throwback, that'd be fun to go listen to.
I have never heard from the hotlines of either WCW or WWF.
Oh, me either, because we are broke ass family.
We cut right from there to the Owen, Hart, and Bulldog promo. Both of them are backstage. Vince is interviewing them from the commentary booth. This is something you don't see very often anymore. The commentary team talking to whoever's on the video screen, because they try to play actor too often, like they're in a different world.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I have a note here. I do believe you're right in that that's what they're trying to get you to believe.
Mm-hmm.
But there is such a clear audio difference between the commentary. Yes. So I think what it is, these are pre-tapes, and Vince is standing behind the camera with a microphone plugged in, playing like he's on commentary to air later.
That could be. He is very loud here.
Yeah, and we see it happens again later on too with I had somewhere coming up where basically the same thing, another backstage, and I think it's JR that time.
From there, we cut to the tag team title match, the first of 2 title matches, folks. We are not going to bait and switch you here. We are going to give you both title matches in their entirety. All the participants are here. The referee is here. The ring is here. We're ready to go.
And most importantly, Bulldog got a haircut.
And Bulldog did get a haircut. We are short cropped here. In the promo we were alluding to earlier, I guess we kind of forgot to cover it. There is dissension amongst the ranks between Bulldog and Owen. They do show clips from the Royal Rumble once again. They show Bulldog being thrown out of the Rumble by Owen, who he claims is an accident, even though it's clearly not much of an accident on tape.
Definitely not.
So they bicker back and forth, and they say they're a good team, but you can see the cracks in the relationship. And that leads us to the tag title match, Bulldog and Owen versus Doug Furnas and Philip LaFon. This is kind of a rematch. We've been seeing the singles matches on the last couple of Raws.
Yeah, and I think they even showed the clip in there where Bulldog inadvertently takes the slammy to the head from one of those singles matches. So yeah, it's more it's a really slow burn, but that's what they've been hitting at, since we started this from Royal Rumble on. It's all like they're gonna break up, but every week we kind of get the tentative handshake toward the end. It's like, okay, maybe they're not,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they play the shit out of it. Pretty good match. Bulldog ends up ignoring Owen's tag. Owen gets rolled up for a 2 count. They start bickering back and forth. After a commercial, they fight back through some double team moves. LaFon's been in there, gets the hot tag. There's a big false finish with Owen Hart's foot on the rope. Even the bell rings. Yeah,
man. I as far as that type of false finish goes, like I like that. It helped sell some finality, only for it to be. Although I'm not a big fan of matches being turned over and started right back, but yeah,
I liked it a lot. The referee doesn't ever sell the match was over. the ring. It's like the
timekeeper jumped the gun.
And he thought the match was over. It's great. Yeah. I thought it was great. From there, Owen gets thrown outside by the Bulldog. Owen pretends he's hurt. Owen ends up getting counted out, even though Bulldog ends up with a power slam on Philip LaFon. They retain on the disqualification countout, and then after they get down the ramp, Owen is selling the ankle. He's limping everywhere. Once Bulldog turns around to leave, he jumps up and dances.
This man, like, once again, I think it's a running theme from episode 1 till now. This just once again proves, man, Owen is amazing, and
he's the best.
Way better than I ever gave him credit for back then. Like, back then, I just didn't like him because
he was a dick.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to. But now watching it, he's one of the most entertaining things on all of these shows so far.
He's so fantastic. What did you think of the match overall?
It was all right. They had the weird little thing at the beginning. They mentioned that. Sadly, I don't remember these guys apart. It must have been Doug Furnas. They mentioned Doug Furnas has got the flu. Never really seemed like it, so I'm not sure why they mentioned it. But overall, it was all right. I think from what we've seen from these 4, I think it was one of the better ones so far. And yeah, I mean, it was cool. The only really notes I have is that there's a term that I don't remember hearing back then, and we certainly never hear it now. And we hear it 3 or 4 times on this card, but the term rubber match.
Yeah, they say it out loud. It's a wrestling term I've heard many times, but
more of an insider term.
Yeah, they acknowledge it many times. Also, I noticed in this match that JR keeps bringing up college references, and every time Vince plays it off. There's a line where JR says that this Doug Furnas and Philip LaFon, they're Oklahoma tough, and Vince just goes ha ha ha. It's good stuff. The match, like you said, it's 4 athletic guys. It's 4 really good workers. We've given them shit in some of the other matches that weren't so good, but I think here they're all in their element in these tag matches.
Yeah, they've worked the towns enough by now. They're all starting to click. I mean, and of course you got Bulldog and Owen. They got some great heel shit going on in there. Of course, Furnas and LaFon are just playing the dumbass baby faces. And it's all good shit to me.
Vince is a little interesting in here. I like how he's going from, instead of 0 to 100, he's going from 100 to 0. He's going, here we go with the pin. 1, 2. Oh.
Well, we talked before about how the Furnas and LaFon, their coming into the WWF is what sparked the whole kind of working relationship with Paul Heyman and ECW. So maybe, 3 or 4 matches in now, maybe he's just having some buyer's remorse.
That could be the case. I don't know how well he's getting over with the fans. I don't really remember that at the time, but they weren't necessarily getting over with me at the time when I was 8 years old.
No, I mean, and honestly, even looking back at him now, like, look, I mean, the guys can work, but I mean, they're fucking paint drying,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, their promos aren't necessarily anything to shake a stick at.
No.
Did you notice that Bulldog has a very specific clothesline? It's half forearm, half clothesline. It's like he hits you with his arm at a 90-degree angle and then just lifts up after he smacks you.
I have to go back and look at that. I don't think I
just watch it in future matches and tell me if you catch it, because I thought it was he hit it 2 or 3 times in a row, and I was like, yeah, I've never seen anybody else do that.
Yeah, the only clothesline thing I can think of, and this is jumping back for a quick second, is it was Funk. Funk had some weird clotheslines in that previous match.
Oh, a Flash Funk.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, not Terry.
No relation to Terry.
No, that would be a tag team, sir.
Yeah, the Funks. They will funk you up. After this, or during the match, actually, we get a promo from Vince that we will later see Wild Man Marc Mero versus Triple H. I'm sorry, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And that Curtis Hughes and Sable are both barred from the Sky Dome. Not only are they barred from ringside, but they're not allowed in the building. A little ridiculous if you ask me, but to each their own.
Yeah, especially Sable. I can see the heel, but this is probably the only time Vince will talk about this damn match without saying bait and switch.
Yeah, that's about it. From there, we cut to an interview with Ahmed Johnson. A lot less Ahmed Johnson this week, thank goodness. We got 2 hours, so I'm glad it's not an hour and a half of Ahmed, and then some matches.
So it's not quite the Raw is Ahmed as we got used to last week.
That's it. The interview itself was amazing. I believe the line was, Vince McMahon, this is just the beginning. I don't take my Prozac anymore. Yes. And when I get off my Prozac, you don't know what's going to happen. Savio, you want to join him? Join him. I promise you will pay with all the rest. I was dying.
He said, one of them asked some other question, and he's like, I got something for him. Just like I got something for you, Vince, and JR, or something like that. Like, what? What are you?
Yeah. What are you giving to them?
Yeah.
Amazing. Ahmed is hyped up. He's ready to go. They show Crush coming out on the side of the screen, and he is joined by none other than the greatest of all time, D'Lo Brown. Give it up for D'Lo.
Insert applause sound effect.
There it is. After that, we cut back to the interview, and Ahmed's about to walk away, and he's joined by none other than the Undertaker. Undertaker jumps in, slaps Ahmed around the neck. Ahmed throws his arm down. Ahmed acts like he's going to the ring now, and Undertaker says, if you go now, you go alone. If you wait, we'll bury them together.
Perfect Undertaker. We gave him some shit last week for talking a little too much. This was perfect. More like that.
Yes. Perfect. Keep the aura, the mystery around him.
Exactly. There's even a little quick right at the end of that, as he's saying the last couple words, Undertaker reaches out, grabs the lens, and actually pushes the camera down and away from them. That was great as well.
Yeah. Good touch. We find out that Crush is going one-on-one with Goldust. And here's another bait and switch reference.
Oh, I missed that one. So my count's off.
Oh.
My count's off by 1.
Add 1 to your count. I caught 1 right here.
So we're at 5 right now.
Something they do here right off the rip is still during Goldust's entrance that I love, is they're promoting house shows in the area. Not just the area. They're promoting the next month's worth of house shows at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
I wish they still did this, because the only way I ever hear about house shows is either from a buddy or through a link on Facebook or something.
Yeah, honestly, if they come to the area, the only way I ever know is if I happen to drive by the Coliseum at the right time when the screen is flashing that logo, you know?
Yeah, there it is, because it's tough. And then my buddy's like, yeah, I'm at the wrestling show. And I'm like, shit, I didn't know it was coming.
I still don't go to it when I do see it, but...
Oh, yeah, the tickets are still a little too high, but I like to pretend I'm going to go. They show a Blackjacks promo again.
The new Blackjacks, right?
The new Blackjacks. They're trying to show basically the same vignette as last couple weeks. But it's interesting. They're talking about the Blackjacks and the tag team division, and yet there's only one they're showing.
Yeah, had this been shown in previous weeks? Because if so, I missed that completely.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay, I felt like it looked familiar, but at the same time,
It may have been at the Royal Rumble, if I remember.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. That's exactly what it was. That's why I was questioning it, because I didn't remember seeing it on any of these Raws. But yeah, they did play it at the Royal Rumble, the whole camp scene deal. So then it's Crush with Clarence Mason, who I forgot to mention was noticeably absent for the Bulldog and Owen match. But so we got Crush with Clarence, D'Lo Brown, as you mentioned, and Savio Vega. And he'll go over Goldust, who's down there with Marlena. About an 8-minute match. Decent match. I still think Crush is terrible. Well, what'd you think?
You know, it was okay. Like you said, Crush is not that good. Goldust is terrific, but he's been up and down, and especially in this period. I think this is where he was having the issues, and we'll see a lot of that later on. But not the best match, but it furthers the Nation of Domination storyline / dominance / whatever Faarooq and the rest of them are doing in the back right now.
Yeah.
And hey, thankfully there is no PG-13 on this show.
None. They must have just got called back to Smoky Mountain or something.
I don't think they got through the border.
I think that's very likely.
They said, "What do you do?" And they started rapping the Nation theme song. And I said, "Get the hell out."
Yeah, I got a couple. This note is actually a holdover, I think, from the first show, and I forgot to mention it. But don't get me wrong, she's super hot. But Marlena looks like the Boomerang kid from Mad Max. Google it. Um, but yeah, slow, boring. Hunter comes out, does a little bit of just does nothing, but distracts Goldust long enough for Crush to go right back to boring, and then Savio interferes, and then Crush defies human anatomy once again.
It's a hard punch. Yep. Triple H comes out here, and they're just placing hints because he's still fighting with Marc Mero here, feuding with Marc Mero. So they're just world building, so to speak, for the future.
Didn't we just do Goldust versus Triple H at Royal Rumble?
Oh, we did actually. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because supposedly it was on the cover of the San Antonio Times Monday morning after Royal Rumble.
and we saw that was also incorrect.
Yes. But yes, after that, we hit the new Jack. The new Black Jack. See, man, hey, if you got a tag team, pick a new name. Don't put new in front of it. It never works. It never goes over. Yep. It's too many words to say. But yeah, we hit a commercial, and then we got HBK. I mean, the real highlight of the show.
Shawn Michaels comes out the ring. He's not in the cowboy gear anymore now that he's out of Texas. He's crossed the border. He's back in the bling. Michaels comes out. Vince is in the ring waiting for him for the interview. Another WCW dig early on here. Did you catch this one?
No. What was that?
They said, here's our champion. He's not this. He's not bald.
Oh, yeah. There's like an old, if not there, then I did catch it later. There was another, not over the hill comment or something like that.
Yeah, something.
But maybe that's the same.
Sean's out here to respond to the Sid promo earlier in the night. I don't know why he couldn't have just interrupted it, but here we are.
Time.
Vince gives him a recap over the promo. It makes a little bit more sense to me now that I understand it from someone else's perspective. Sean cuts his stuff. He hints at being bad again, mentioning again, if I have to have attitude, if I have to be bad to be this champion, then that's fine. I'll do it. And Sid is right. If he's talking about the championship brings out the evil in people, then I'll be what I have to be. And the crowd cheers every time he mentions being bad. Yeah,
I mean, for Canada, and it's kind of the same shit they did Royal Rumble with Sid. You know, of course, Sean's gonna be super over there, but when Sid gets a decent reaction, they kind of, I don't know if they say the same exact phrase here, but they do some of the same kind of posturing with their words in that plenty fans of his own kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Brett's got plenty of fans of his own, or whatever the case.
But we're super in the era of the tweener here. And this is in here we get our second rubber match mention, which I keep throwing that in there because like as soon as I heard it, I was like, man, I know that term, but only from like a backstage kayfabe kind of thing, and it's weird to hear it on TV. And another weird thing, Sean's talking. The promo is decent. I gave him shit for the promo last week. I think this one's way better. But we get a really weird and rare shot of Brett sitting in Gorilla. Like he's clearly not backstage. You can see a curtain and you can see fans beyond him. Like he's sitting there ready to go out. I was like, okay, well, we know what the hell's about to happen next.
Yeah, that was odd. I actually liked it. But it kind of looked like he knew he was going to be on camera because he was looking down and away.
Yeah.
So he was listening, and Sean was mentioning Brett just at the time they cut to him. So it was good. But yeah, it was interesting. I haven't seen that before. Brett comes out pretty quick and starts recanting and calling Sean a degenerate and saying, you are right about that, and you are a jackass. And the Canadian crowd's popping for Brett big.
Dude, I actually have it written down. Brett's opening line is amazing, and I thought it was a dig at WCW. I went and looked it up. I don't think it is, but still, it's an amazing opening line. He says, "Muhammad Ali, I don't think so. Maybe Dennis Rodman's."
That's awesome.
So I even had to write it down phonetically, Alley. Muhammad Ali. I was like, hold up. So later on, we're going to get some Tiger Ali Singh that mentions Brett. Does Brett think his name is Tiger Ali Singh?
Probably. He probably doesn't know how to say it. He's Canadian. Who knows? Brett says that Sean's nothing but a punk and he is going to beat him, this and that. And here comes Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin jumps Brett from behind. Almost the same thing as last week.
A little bit of get back from earlier in the night.
Yep. And then here comes Sid. And immediately they cut to commercial.
Oh, man.
Worst timing ever.
I have Sid comes out, ... commercial. What the fuck?
Yep. Absolutely.
And then to make it worse, back from commercial,
they're sending Sid and Austin back to the locker room.
I didn't even see that. Maybe I looked down, but like by the time I look up, they're already gone. It's just back to Brett and Sean.
Yeah, in the ring. Nothing happened between them. When they left, fans were on their feet. They come back to a half-dead crowd from the commercial. Brett steps on the belt to stop Sean from picking it up. Gets a really nice pop. Brett picks it up and then drops it before handing it to Sean.
Yeah, and all that, I thought all that was good. It helped make up for some of the other shit, the bad commercial spot. But I will mention, because it's not part of the show, so we won't really cover it at the end. But the reasoning for that is the dark match is a triple threat elimination match, and Sean goes over Brett and Sid both.
Oh, well, there you go.
I don't have any other details on it because we didn't actually get to see it. That's just from cagedmatches.com or whatever.
Cagematch.de or .com, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it was interesting. Terrible time for commercial. Great promo for the Final Four and for Sean and Sid. Folks, there is no way that we would flip-flop you on one of these title matches.
Number 6. Oh, and then in that same little speech, Vince says crap.
He says crap?
Says the word crap.
Nice. I did not pick up on that.
I sadly didn't write down in what context, but it just the first time I watched it, and I noticed it. So when the second time came around, I just wrote it down real quick. I was like, it's not really important, but you don't really hear Vince talking like that, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. Last week, folks, they announced via press conference that they had signed Tiger Ali Singh. This week, he signed a contract. What? That's where we cut to next. We see images of Tiger Ali Singh signing his WWF contract.
And giving a rousing promo that just really says what his career in the WWF is going to be all about.
Yeah. It was pretty terrible all around.
Well, I mean, I don't know what was going on back then, really. But clearly, just because the number of people in that, now I know Tiger Ali Singh is Canadian or whatever, but clearly, just because of the sheer population of India, it also appears clear from even in 1997, the WWF has been looking to hit that area for a long time.
Absolutely. It's a big wrestling market, always has been, and it's a huge population center. From there, we cut to the Intercontinental title match. Another WCW dig.
No bait and switch, buddy.
No bait and switch. The manager is barred from the Sky Dome. The challenger, Wildman Marc Mero versus the Intercontinental champion, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And in the finish of the match, Triple H undid the corner pad on the turnbuckle and tried to throw Mero in a couple times. One time Mero noticed, told the referee. Referee went to fix it. Triple H pulled the old fake brass knuckles, I guess, out of his boot. It looked like they would be brass knuckles, but it kind of looked like tape just rolled around his fingers. And he pulls it up over his knuckles. He hits Mero in the head with it, slips it back into his tights, and gets the pin behind the referee's back. Retains the Intercontinental title. What do you think of the match?
Yeah, no, the tape thing, that was fun. That was definitely all tape all the time. Raw is tape. I don't like Mero doing any type of Hurricane Rana, much less one from the top turnbuckle. But I think overall they looked okay for I can't say much hyped, but a much promised title match. I guess it was okay. Just for all of us out here that like to revere the Intercontinental title as the workers' title, this one kind of puts a little dent in that action. But yeah, overall it was cool. It was all right. But I mean, the faster Mero gets out of here, the better, in my opinion.
9-year-old Mikey thought Wildman Marc Mero was the future. No lie. This is the first guy I ever saw do a Hurricane Rana. First guy I ever saw do a shooting star press. And I thought he was going to be the next world champion. Now, watching it back, I see that he's not terrible in the ring. He just can't connect with the crowd at all. Meanwhile, Triple H is over here selling his ass off. The fans are into it. It just seems like the only thing Mero has is the high spots. He's got a cool double jump moonsault. He's got a nice flying front flip to the outside bump that he does. But otherwise, he's also on the other end of the spectrum, got the flying face drop where he leaves Triple H bent over. He runs off the ropes, stops, grabs him by the head, and then lifts him up and drops him on his face. Ridiculous.
Well, and like you said, I mean, serviceable. He's got some spots and they're good, but when they're bad, they're super bad. I mean, to me, he feels like a guy who could do all the moves, but sometimes doesn't look like the fake out when he jumps, goes a slingshot outside the ring, but then catches himself on the apron. He barely catches himself.
Yeah. Glad Triple H won. Hunter. From there, we cut to the Jerry Lawler Royal Rumble clip. It takes a king to know a king. Jerry Lawler hops in the ring. Brett's sitting there, and a sharpshooter gets up, and punches him one time, and he flies over the rope backwards to be eliminated.
Only to go sit back down and finish his sentence.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that. We talked about it on the actual show itself. Great spot. It's really kind of, as far as I can tell, apropos to nothing here. But hey, why not show it? I mean, you've parsed out the rest of the Royal Rumble. Why not throw that in too?
From there, we cut to the main event. We see Faarooq coming out to the ring with the Nation, and for the third time, count them 1, 2, 3. D'Lo Brown.
I sometimes wonder, if you pick the Royal Rumble start date just so
I did
this early into the podcast we could get to D'Lo.
That has to it's subconscious logic. I didn't choose it; it chose me. I will say every time he pops on the screen, I do the head wiggle.
Not to the extent you are, but I was a fan of D'Lo. So as soon as he cuts that damn hair, well,
gets the flat top out of here.
Yeah, I'm in line with D'Lo.
Behind Faarooq and the Nation comes Mankind and Paul Bearer, out with the Nation theme still playing, but they're far enough away to play it off. Interesting spot here, Mick Foley. There's a little peek of Mick Foley we would come to love later on, where he's as Mankind trying to do the Nation sign in the ring. Mankind and Faarooq are teaming up in a tag match against Ahmed and the Undertaker. Ahmed comes out next. He comes out with the Equalizer, a 2x4, clears the ring. Undertaker comes out last, and this match, we're reminded throughout the evening, is no holds barred.
Yeah, we didn't sell it throughout our episode nearly as hard as they did, because I think almost every time we're up to number 6 or 7 bait and switch mentions. Every time that was mentioned, no holds barred was mentioned as well. Interesting
dynamic, but it was actually not that bad of a match. I kind of enjoyed it. I mean, anything with Ahmed in it's usually pretty bad, but this works. In the end of the match, everybody hits their finishers, and I mean everybody. Mankind tries to grab some powder from Paul Bearer, throw it in Undertaker's face. Undertaker punches his hands back into his own face. Vader comes in, however, splashes the Undertaker, but it's not enough. Undertaker gets up, knocks Vader out to the outside, and drops Mankind on his head with a tombstone on the chair. And the Undertaker and Ahmed Johnson win the match.
Hardcore, the weirdest pairing ever.
Yes, Ahmed and Undertaker are not what I would call. They are what I would call strange bedfellows. How's that?
100%. Little quick piece of trivia, because watching this, I just got to wondering if this was the first time Mankind and Undertaker had been in a match together on TV. Going back and looking, it wasn't, but it's not that far removed, and this is, in fact, the first time Mankind faced off versus The Undertaker in a tag match.
Nice. I know they did the Boiler Room Brawl back at SummerSlam 96.
Yeah, see, and I should have known that and didn't, and then when looking into this.
Well, that was in Cleveland. It was in my backyard.
Okay. Yeah, I have a horrible, and as this podcast progresses, it'll be fun. I have a terrible memory for all this stuff.
Well, good, because you'll get to relive it then.
Oh, it's like seeing it all for the first time. And one of the things it felt like seeing for the first time, my biggest note right here is Wedgie City.
Wedgie City. I brought it back too. Your favorite. We got to see Ahmed's ass in full force here. Even when Faarooq goes for the Dominator, he pulls it way up his ass.
Which I don't know if I've touched on this before, but it may be the first time when I first brought it up. But man, that's one of my biggest pet peeves in wrestling. Someone just hits you with the most devastating move or whatever, and you're out cold. God damn it, quit fixing your gear.
That's it. Yep.
You're out.
Towards the end, right before the commercial break, we see Savio and Crush come out. And when we come back, Undertaker's chasing everybody away. And Ahmed's chasing with the 2i4. Mankind gets a mandible claw. Taker tries the old school walk rope. And then Pro River plunge on Mankind from Ahmed. Dominator on Ahmed from Faarooq. And then Undertaker hits the tombstone. It was a happy go home for everybody.
Indeed. To me, the whole thing with the pile driver is kind of controversial, both in work and in shoot. But Undertaker's like one of those guys that there's never been a problem with him doing it or whatever. But to me, man, Mankind's head looked a little bit low on that shit.
As in the tombstone.
Yeah, as he's holding Mankind up, ready to drop him, I kind of cringe, like wherever, like that last shot, right before he drops.
It looked great. Yeah.
No, the move looked great, but like Mankind's head looked like it was a little bit lower than normal. You know what I mean? Like he might suffer some neck trauma, but clearly not. But
well, then they got you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Anytime they can make me cringe, I'm excited afterwards. You got me.
Especially if I know no one was actually hurt, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think of the first 2-hour episode of Raw?
Man, I'll say for my first watch, it went by pretty quick. It didn't. Aside from what match was that? GOLDUST and Crush. I think that was the main one that several times in my notes I'm just typing boring over and over again. But yeah, it didn't really drag for me that bad. It didn't feel like 2 hours. It felt like more than an hour. But we talked about it before. Like it felt like in an hour they didn't have enough time to get enough stuff in. So now it felt like they did, and almost they had too much time. I mean, because the actual runtime after commercials is actually 1 hour, 32 minutes.
Yeah, it's not bad. It was easy to take in. I agree with you there. I think they're still feeling their way into 2 hours. So they had to fill in some time with some extra long matches. I thought the tag match was a little long. I thought the Sid interview was a little long, but I think, again, they're trying to find their footing with the new time slot, and it'll get interesting moving forward if they can keep it interesting throughout the show. Agreed.
And when we get back to, assuming we have to be, when we get back to normal sized arenas for Raw, I don't think they'll feel the need for. I mean, I know there's always dark matches and whatnot, but I don't think they'll feel the need to do some of the things they did in here that only a few minutes ago made sense to me. Like, oh, that was building to the damn dark match we don't get to see.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the show evolves. And they're trying to include everybody, but they're trying to highlight the main stories. It's a good blend, and they're getting it just in time to move towards WrestleMania. So I think it's a good as far as the competition aspect.
Yeah, and then before we get there, we got the Royal Rumble, or not Royal Rumble. So we got with the Royal Rumble winner, quote unquote, that is gonna have to face off against the Final Four. That's a whole thing, and we talked about it briefly before. Coming up next episode, there's gonna be a big change in the world title scene. That's really gonna shake things up.
Yeah, folks, no bait and switch here. We're gonna see Psycho Sid versus Shawn Michaels next week on Thursday Raw Thursday. Strap in, get ready, because it's gonna be a banger.
No bait and switch. I mean, we could say it 4 more times, but you get the idea.
I wonder if they say bait and switch on the next episode.
Oh man, it'd be fantastic. Maybe like at the top of the show, it'd be great if they did.
Oh, great episode of Raw. I had fun. I'm glad we're doing this still, and I'm glad this 4th episode is rocking through.
Yeah, agreed. We'll be back next week with the 5th edition of the Atomic Dropcast, which will be Thursday, Raw Thursday. And the biggest thing to remember about that is Ahmed is off his Prozac. And what we got to keep in mind, it takes about 7 to 14 days for medicine to work out of your system. So next week.
On Thursday, Raw Thursday, it could get pretty ugly for anybody who's crossing Ahmed.
Ahmed should be pretty off the rails.
Thanks for joining us, everyone, for another episode. Catch us next week, wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it be iTunes, Stitcher, wherever. We're just getting started. We're going to be growing and blowing up.
Bong bong. Drop some knees on some asses.
We are the nation of domination. Nation of domination.
We are the nation, come alive and in color. Don't diss the man, over bum rush your mother. Listen what I'm saying, it's for real, not playing. Faarooq is the man, hit your knees and start praying.
Nation of domination.
Got power like the bear, but quick like the cat. Put 2 and 2 together, feel your face on the mat. You count the stars while the ref counts 3. Hope you like the look of sailors, cause that's all you're gonna see.
We are the nation of domination.
He's harder than a rock and he can't be stopped. You suckers step to the side unless you wanna get dropped. The boys from the hood are on the MIC. Spitting out the rhymes is JC Ice and Wolfie D. Clarence Mason is the boss, crossing T's and dotting I's. He tells the truth, the whole truth, and never tells a lie.
Nation of domination. Nation of domination. We are the nation of domination.
Hit your knees and start praying.